The battlefield was silent, but the silence felt heavy, like the air itself was afraid to move. The planet Virulon had seen many wars, yet nothing had prepared it for the terrible clash that happened only hours ago. Smoke still rose from the broken ground, fire flickered weakly from shattered alien machines, and in the middle of all that destruction, a young alien girl named Lyra hid behind a fallen biopillar, her body shaking with fear. Lyra pressed her back against the cold surface, her heart beating so fast she could hear it echo in her ears. She had never met a human before, but she knew the stories. Every child on her world grew up hearing them. Humans were monsters, hunters, devourers. They ate their enemies to steal their strength. They left no survivors, and now she was alone on the battlefield, separated from her unit, while a human walked somewhere nearby. She heard metal footsteps crunching over the broken ground, slow and heavy. Every step felt like a countdown to her last moment. She gripped the small crystal knife she carried, but it was useless against a human warrior. Tears gathered in her eyes as she whispered to herself, "Please, please don't let him find me." But fate did not listen. The sound of footsteps stopped. Lyra froze. She could hear breathing now, rough, tired, but strong. A shadow stretched across the ground beside her hiding place. Slowly, a figure walked around the biopillar, and she saw him. A human. He was taller than she expected, wearing damaged combat armor scratched from battle. Blood, not his, stained the metal. His visor flickered with sparks, then lifted, revealing tired but sharp blue eyes. He looked wounded, one arm hanging weakly, yet power still surrounded him like a force field. Lyra felt her stomach drop, her whole body trembled uncontrollably, her voice barely escaped her lips, soft and broken, "Please don't eat me." The human blinked, confused for a moment, then he raised one eyebrow and let out a short smirk, the kind of smirk that said he wasn't sure whether to laugh or question her sanity. "Eat you," he said slowly, "why would I do that?" Lyra shook even harder. Humans eat enemies, for power. He stared at her for a moment, then let out a tired breath. "Kid, if I wanted you dead, you wouldn't be talking right now, and no, I don't eat people, that's ridiculous." His tone was calm, not angry, not threatening, just tired, but Lyra didn't feel safe yet. He was still a human, still stronger than her, still close enough to kill her with one movement. She pressed herself against the pillar, ready to run, even though she knew she wouldn't get far. The human lifted his hands slowly, showing no weapons. "Listen. I'm Evan. Evan Hale. I lost my squad in the fight. I'm not here to hurt you." Lyra swallowed hard, her voice came out small. I'm Lyra. I was with my people, but the swarm attacked, everyone ran." Evan looked around the battlefield, his eyes darkening. "Yeah, the swarm hit harder than expected. I got separated from my unit too." A strange silence followed, not dangerous, not peaceful, just uncertain, as if both of them were trying to understand whether they were enemies or survivors stuck together. Then a sound broke the moment, a low, wet clicking echoing from somewhere behind the rubble. Lyra stiffened instantly. "Swarm, they're still here, they hunt survivors." Evan grabbed his pulse rifle with his good arm, switching it on. The weapon hummed weakly, running low on energy. "Great, just what we need." The clicking came again, louder, closer. Lyra shrank down, terrified. Evan looked at her and whispered, "Stay behind me, move slowly, we're getting out of here." She didn't understand why he was helping her, but her legs moved on their own, following him. They slipped between broken walls and shattered metallic roots. The air smelled like smoke and acid. Every sound felt too loud, too risky. A sudden screech tore through the ruins. Something huge moved above them. Evan grabbed Lyra's arm and pulled her behind a collapsed structure, pressing a finger to his lips to keep her quiet. Lyra felt his hand around her wrist, warm, steady, strangely protective. She could feel her heart pounding, but not only from fear now, from confusion too. Humans were supposed to be heartless, brutal, unstoppable monsters, yet this human was shielding her, keeping her safe, risking himself even while injured. A massive shadow passed overhead, its claws scraping stone. Lyra's breath caught. Evan leaned close and whispered, so quietly she almost didn't hear it, "If it finds us, run, don't look back." She stared at him, shocked. "But, you will die." Evan gave a faint smirk. I've had worse days. The swarm creature roared, shaking dust from the walls, the ground trembled under their feet. Lyra felt tears welling again, not from helpless fear like before, but from a sudden fear of losing the strange human who chose not to kill her. The creature paused, sniffed the air, then moved away slowly, disappearing back into the smoke. Only then did they breathe again. Evan stood up carefully, wincing in pain. Lyra reached to support him without thinking, surprising herself. He gave her a long look, confused but grateful. Come on, he said softly, we need to move, together, if we want to live. And for the first time in her life, Lyra nodded to a human, trusting him, even as her heart trembled with fear and something she couldn't understand yet. The human she thought would eat her had just saved her life, and something inside her whispered, this was only the beginning. Evan walked slowly through the broken battlefield, his steps uneven. Lyra stayed close behind him, her eyes moving in every direction. The smoke was thicker here, swirling around them like a living shadow. Each breath tasted sharp, like metal and dust, yet neither of them stopped, because stopping meant death. They passed a twisted alien tree, blackened from energy blasts. A few hours ago, this place was full of soldiers, weapons, and machines. Now everything was silent except for the distant clicks of the swarm. They were hunting again. Lyra shivered at the sound, but Evan tightened his grip on the rifle, ready for anything. After a few minutes of walking, Evan stopped and leaned against a broken wall. His breathing was rough, his injuries catching up to him. Lyra hurried to his side. You are hurt, you need help, she whispered. Evan shook his head. Nothing serious, just tired, and bleeding a little. A little. Lyra said, looking at the deep cut on his arm. Human, you are losing too much blood. Evan gave a tired smile. We humans are stubborn, this is nothing. Lyra didn't know why, but she felt something warm in her chest, concern, worry, something she never expected to feel for a human. She tore a strip from her cloth armor and gently wrapped it around his arm. Evan watched her silently, surprised by her kindness. Thank you, he said softly, didn't think an alien would care. Lyra lowered her eyes. You protected me. I should protect you too. Before Evan could reply, a loud clatter echoed through the ruins. Both turned sharply, pulse rifle ready. Lyra trembling again. The sound slowly faded, but the fear stayed hanging in the air like a heavy mist. We need shelter, Evan said quietly, somewhere safe, somewhere we can hide for a moment. Lyra nodded quickly. There is a place, near the eastern cliff, an old research tower, maybe it survived. Evan raised an eyebrow. Lead the way, he said, but stay low, and stay close. They moved like shadows between the broken structures, every step careful, every sound dangerous. The swarm was still nearby. They could feel it in the vibrations of the ground. They could hear faint roars in the distance. Something big was searching for survivors. As they walked, Lyra spoke softly, almost frightened of her own voice. Humans, you really don't eat enemies. Evan glanced at her, half smiling. Do you really believe we eat people? My elders said humans grow stronger by devouring the weak, she replied. Evan let out a quiet laugh, even as pain shot through his arm. Your elders need better stories. We don't eat people. Lyra's cheeks warmed slightly, though she didn't fully understand the emotion behind it. Then, what do humans want? Evan gave a small smirk. Right now, I just want to get off this planet, preferably alive. They shared a moment of quiet understanding before continuing deeper into the destroyed valley. As they climbed down a slope, a huge crack appeared in the ground below. Strange glowing vines pulsed beneath the surface. The sky was turning darker, clouds gathering like a storm preparing to swallow everything. Finally, Lyra pointed to a tall shadow in the distance. There, the research tower, it's still standing. The tower was damaged but not destroyed. Its upper levels were broken, but the lower structure remained intact. Evan narrowed his eyes. Looks risky, but better than staying out here. As they approached, they heard faint buzzing from above. Lyra quickly pulled Evan behind a rock. Her hand grabbed his wrist tightly. The buzzing grew louder. A swarm drone flying overhead, scanning the area with a bright red beam. Evan whispered, "Don't move." The red beam passed dangerously close, brushing over their hiding place. Lyra held her breath. Evan didn't blink. After a long, tense moment, the drone flew away into the smoke. The two exhaled slowly. "That was too close," Evan muttered. They hurried into the tower through a broken side entrance. Inside, the air was cooler, the walls shimmered faintly with alien tech. Lyra placed her hand on a living console, and faint lights flickered on, glowing blue and green. "This place," Evan whispered, "what was it used for?" "Research," Lyra said softly. "My people studied the swarm here, tried to understand their hive mind. There is a device deep inside, something that can disturb the swarm signal." Evan frowned, realizing the importance. If we can shut down their hive signal, the swarm might retreat. Lyra nodded. "Yes, but only someone immune to mind shock can activate it, only someone with strong neural resistance." Her eyes lifted toward Evan slowly, meaningfully. Evan blinked. "Wait, you mean, me?" "Yes," Lyra said, "only a human can do it. Your minds are different, stronger against hive influence." Evan sighed, a tired smirk appearing on his face. "Great, so I'm the key to saving both of us." Before Lyra could respond, the tower vibrated, dust fell from the ceiling, a deep roar echoed outside. Lyra's eyes widened in terror. "They found us," she whispered. Evan lifted his rifle despite the pain. "Then we stand together, you and me." The roar grew louder, closer, shaking the walls like thunder. Lyra grabbed Evan's arm, pulling him toward a stairwell. "We have to reach the core chamber, now." Evan nodded, gripping his weapon tightly. "Lead the way. I'll cover you." As they ran up the spiraling steps, Lyra felt something new rise inside her, not fear, but a strange courage she never knew she had, a courage born from the presence of the human behind her, a human she once thought would eat her, a human she now trusted with her life. The tower trembled again. The swarm was coming, and their only chance of survival was to move forward, together. The tower stairs twisted upward in a long spiral, each step groaning under their weight. The air inside was colder now, carrying a strange vibration that crawled across Lyra's skin like tiny sparks. Evan kept his rifle steady, his injured arm pressed close to his chest, but he never slowed down. His steps were strong, determined, like nothing could break him. Behind them, the roar of the swarm shook the lower floors. Metal screeched as something large forced its way into the tower entrance. Lyra's heart slammed inside her chest. "They're inside," she whispered, fear tightening her voice. Evan glanced back once, eyes sharp. "We keep going, whatever it takes." They reached a wide metal platform that circled the tower's interior, but part of it had been torn away during the earlier attack. A large gap split the walkway in two. The drop was deep, glowing with strange blue energy vines far below. Lyra froze. We can't cross, it's too far." Evan stepped to the edge, judging the distance. "Maybe not for me, but for you, definitely too far," he said, half smirking, "even in this impossible situation." Lyra looked at him with fear-filled eyes. "Then we are trapped." Evan shook his head. "Not trapped, just need a human solution." He slung his rifle over his back, tightened his grip on the remaining walkway, and crouched slightly. Lyra stared at him, confused. "What are you?" "You're light," he said, "trust me." Before she could argue, Evan lifted her carefully, his strong arms surprising her again. Her heart jumped in her throat. "W8. Humans cannot jump that far." Evan smirked. "Watch me." He ran 2 steps and jumped, landing on the other side with a heavy thud. The walkway shook under his boots. Lyra gasped and clutched his armor. He set her down gently and crouched to catch his breath. "You're crazy," she whispered, still shaking. Evan grinned. "Humans call it problem-solving." A loud crash cut their moment short. The swarm had reached the stairwell below. Screeches filled the tower, echoing upward like knives scraping metal. Evan grabbed his rifle again. "Move, now." They continued running, reaching the next level. Here the walls pulsed with faint light, the tower's organic tech still alive. The hum of energy grew stronger, vibrating through their bones. Lyra paused for a moment, touching the wall gently. "This place, it feels awake," she murmured. "It's reacting to the swarm," Evan said, "or maybe to you." But they had no time to wonder. The roar of the swarm grew louder. Lyra spotted multiple red lights moving quickly up the stairwell, drones coming after them. Evan fired a few warning shots, the pulse energy crackling and sizzling through the air. 2 drones fell, smoking, but more climbed over them. The rifle beeped, lights blinking red, out of charge, Evan muttered. Lyra grabbed his hand urgently. We have to reach the core chamber, it's close. They dashed through a curved hallway lit by glowing blue veins that ran across the walls like shining rivers. Finally, they reached a large circular door, almost twice the size of Evan. It was sealed, covered in living symbols that pulsed softly. This is it, Lyra whispered, the core chamber, the control room that can break the swarm hive link. How do we open it? Evan asked. Lyra placed her hand on a glowing panel. The door shimmered but did not open. It requires a human hand, only your neural pattern can unlock it. Evan stepped forward without hesitation, placing his palm on the center symbol. The door reacted instantly, glowing bright white, then sliding open with a deep, echoing sound. Inside, the room was filled with tall crystal pillars, each one glowing with a different color. Strange energy flowed through them like liquid light. At the center stood a control node shaped like a floating orb surrounded by rotating rings. Evan walked toward it. So this thing shuts down the swarm. Yes, Lyra said, but when you activate it, the hive will feel you, they will come here immediately. Evan nodded. Figures, the universe hates easy jobs. He reached for the control orb, but suddenly, the floor trembled violently. Lyra stumbled. Evan grabbed her before she fell. The tremor grew stronger, then a loud, thunderous roar shook the entire tower. Lyra's eyes widened with terror. That is not a drone, not a soldier, that is the swarm enforcer, the guardian of the hive. Evan tightened his jaw. Of course, they sent the biggest one. The tower walls shook again, something massive climbing the stairwell with terrifying speed. The sound of claws tearing through metal echoed closer with every heartbeat. Lyra grabbed Evan's arm, panic rising. Activate it, quickly, or we will both die. Evan placed both hands on the orb. The rotating ring spun faster, lights flashing. A surge of energy burst out, sending waves of pressure through the room. Lyra covered her ears, the sound overwhelming. Evan gritted his teeth as energy flowed through him, bright light wrapping around his arms like electric vines. It hurt, but he didn't stop. Almost got it. The door behind them suddenly exploded inward, metal and debris flying. The swarm enforcer crawled inside, massive and terrifying. Its body was made of black armor plates, its eyes burning red, mandibles clicked violently as it roared at them. Lyra screamed, Evan. Evan didn't turn. Don't stop me, whatever happens, don't come near it. The enforcer charged, shaking the ground. Lyra grabbed a fallen metal rod, her hands shaking but her eyes fierce. She ran forward, placing herself between Evan and the beast, even though she knew she was not strong enough to fight it. But at that exact moment, the orb released a shockwave of light, spreading through the tower like a tidal wave. The enforcer roared in pain, its eyes flickering. The hive mind signal scrambled, confused, weakening. Evan collapsed to one knee, breathing hard. Is it working? Lyra caught him before he fell, her voice trembling but hopeful. Yes, but we are not safe yet. The enforcer, though weakened, lifted its head again, growling deep and low, preparing for another attack. And the core chamber shook as the real battle began. The enforcer shook itself violently, its massive body scraping against the crystal pillars. Sparks rained down like angry stars. The entire chamber pulsed with chaotic energy, lights flashing red and white. Lyra held Evan tightly, her heart racing as she pulled him back behind a pillar. Evan pushed himself upright, his breathing sharp and uneven. I'm fine, just need a second. But he was not fine. His arms trembled from the shock, his nerves buzzing with leftover energy. Still, he forced himself to stand, gripping his rifle even though it barely had any charge left. The enforcer's eyes glowed again, recovering faster than they expected. Lyra grabbed his wrist. You cannot fight it like this, you will die. Evan smirked weakly. Wouldn't be my first bad day. The enforcer roared, shaking the entire tower, its claws dug into the ground, preparing to pounce. Lyra knew there was no time to think. She grabbed Evan and pulled him behind a fallen section of the wall, debris shielding them for a moment. Listen to me, she whispered urgently, this machine, the shutdown, it will work, but it needs time. The hive is confused now, but they will reset soon. Evan wiped blood from his lip, so we need to stall this thing. No, Lyra said, shaking her head, we need to survive until the final pulse. If the enforcer kills us before the system completes, everything fails. Evan glanced at her, something strange in his eyes. You're braver than you look. Before she could answer, the enforcer lunged again, smashing through the debris. Evan shoved Lyra aside just as a claw slammed into the floor where she stood, cracks spread like spiderwebs under their feet, dust swirling in the air. Evan fired the last pulse shot, the energy bolt striking the enforcer in its face. The creature shrieked, not in pain, but in anger. It swung its massive tail, almost hitting them. Evan grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her into a side tunnel connected to the chamber. They stumbled into a dim hallway, the walls glowing faint blue. Lyra steadied herself, looking up at him with wide eyes. You protected me again. Evan gave a half smile. Well, can't let the only guide I got die. But Lyra saw more in his eyes than a joke. There was fear there, but also determination, something deeper, something human, something painful and strong at the same time. The enforcer's roar echoed through the corridors, shaking dust from the ceiling. Evan leaned against the wall, trying to catch his breath. Lyra studied his face quietly, noticing the exhaustion, the pain, the stubbornness. She spoke softly, humans are not what my people told me, are they? Evan raised an eyebrow. Oh, the whole humans eat enemies thing. Lyra's cheeks warmed. Yes, that, but also, humans were described as cold, cruel, always seeking war, never showing mercy. Evan looked away for a moment, his expression darkening. We fight when we have to. We bleed, we lose people, we survive. But cruel. Cold. No, not really. He met her eyes again, his voice calm. If humans wanted to conquer everything, we would have done it already. But we don't. We try to protect, even when it hurts. Lyra's chest tightened, something about his words felt heavy, honest, real. Then why do my people fear you? She asked. Evan let out a slow breath, because fear is easier than truth, and stories last longer than facts. Lyra touched her chest lightly, feeling her heartbeat. I feared you, a lot, but now, when I look at you, I do not feel fear. Evan tilted his head slightly, a soft smirk forming. What do you feel then? Lyra opened her mouth to speak, but the tower shook violently again. The enforcer was getting closer. Evan cursed under his breath. No more hiding, it's coming. They ran deeper into the hallway, finding another narrow chamber filled with glowing roots and energy crystals. Evan searched for something to use as a weapon, but everything was either broken or too alien to understand. Suddenly, Lyra stepped in front of him, her voice firm. You activated the system, you did your part. Now I will protect you. Evan blinked in surprise. Lyra, no, you don't have to. She cut him off, eyes shining with fierce resolve he never expected. My people feared humans, but I see the truth now. You are not a monster, you are not a devourer. You are different. Evan felt a strange warmth in his chest, a sensation he wasn't prepared for. His voice softened. Lyra, I didn't save you because of duty. I saved you because, he hesitated, because I wanted to. Lyra stared at him, breath catching, her heart racing. The moment stretched between them, quiet and fragile. But then, a massive claw tore through the wall, smashing crystal pillars aside. The enforcer forced its huge body into the chamber, its red eyes locking onto them with furious hunger. Evan moved in front of Lyra instinctively. Even though he had no weapon left, Lyra grabbed a crystal spike from the ground, holding it like a blade, her hands trembling but refusing to back away. The enforcer roared and charged. The floor shook violently. Evan pushed Lyra behind him, ready to take the blow. And then the entire tower pulsed with a blinding white light. A shockwave rippled outward from the core chamber, washing over everything. The enforcer screamed, clutching its head as the hive link shattered again. Lyra shielded her eyes. Evan staggered backward, his vision blurring. The shockwave ended after a few seconds, leaving a strange silence behind. The enforcer lay on the ground, twitching, weakened, confused, but not dead yet. Evan breathed heavily. It's almost over. I think. Lyra touched his arm gently, her voice soft and full of something new. You saved me, again, and now I see the truth humans hide. Evan looked at her, confused. The truth. Lyra nodded slowly. You are strong, but gentle, dangerous, but kind. She stepped closer, her voice trembling. You risked your life for someone who was afraid of you. Why? Evan stared at her for a long moment before answering in a quiet, honest voice. Because I care, more than I should. Lyra's breath shook, her heart pounding, but before she could reply, the enforcer's eyes snapped open again, glowing with renewed rage. And the final battle was about to begin. The enforcer rose again, its body shaking with broken energy, its red eyes glowed like burning coals, the hive link inside its mind flickering in and out, confused but still deadly. Evan pushed Lyra gently behind him, his stance firm even though he was exhausted and injured. Lyra's voice trembled. Evan, you cannot fight it alone, you will die. Evan kept his eyes locked on the monster. Maybe, but I won't let it touch you. Those words froze Lyra's breath. No one had ever spoken to her like that, no one had ever protected her like that. She felt something deep in her heart, something warm, something painful, something she had no name for. The enforcer roared and lunged forward, shaking the entire chamber. Evan grabbed a broken metal beam from the floor and moved with surprising speed, slamming the beam into the creature's arm. Sparks flew as metal clashed against the beast's armored shell. The creature swung back, its massive claw scraping across the ground and throwing Evan off balance. He hit the wall hard, sliding down, pain flashing through his body. Lyra screamed, Evan. The enforcer turned its eyes toward her, sensing weakness, sensing fear. It lumbered forward, its mandibles stretching wide. Lyra stepped back, gripping the crystal spike in her hand, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might break. Evan forced himself to his feet. No. Don't touch her, he roared. But the creature was too close now, its claw swiped toward Lyra. She jumped aside, the claw slamming into the floor inches from her body. The impact shook the chamber again. Lyra ran behind a pillar, breathing fast, her mind racing. She could run, she could hide, she could let the human fight alone, but her heart screamed something else, something louder than fear, something stronger than instinct. She would not let him die, not now, not after everything he did for her. With trembling hands, she lifted the crystal spike and stepped out from behind the pillar. The enforcer turned its huge head toward her again. Evan shouted desperately, Lyra, no. But it was too late to stop. Lyra ran straight toward the creature, the spike raised high. The enforcer roared and swung its claw down. Evan threw himself between them, blocking the hit just in time. The claw smashed into his armor, sending him crashing into another wall. He cried out in pain, the sound tearing through Lyra's heart like a blade. Evan, she screamed, her eyes filling with tears. The enforcer moved toward him again, preparing to finish the job. Lyra looked at the spike in her hand, then at Evan. She clenched her teeth and ran with everything she had. She jumped onto the enforcer's back, gripping one of its armor plates to keep balance. The creature roared in anger, trying to shake her off. Lyra raised the crystal spike and drove it deep into the glowing joint between two armor plates. The enforcer screamed, its entire body shaking violently. Blue sparks exploded from the wound. Lyra held on tightly, even as the creature thrashed around the chamber, smashing into the walls, into pillars, into the floor. Lyra, hold on. Evan shouted, forcing himself back onto his feet despite the pain tearing through his body. The creature twisted again, its tail whipping around, striking Lyra and knocking her off its back. She hit the ground hard, the air punched out of her lungs. The crystal spike rolled away across the floor. The enforcer staggered but didn't fall. It turned its burning eyes toward her again. Lyra tried to crawl back, but her body hurt too much to move fast. The creature lifted its claw. Evan moved faster than he ever had in his life. He ran across the chamber, ignoring the pain, ignoring the blood, ignoring everything except Lyra. He grabbed the fallen crystal spike, slid across the broken floor, and thrust the weapon upwards with all the strength left in him. The spike pierced straight into the enforcer's exposed chest joint. The creature roared one final time, its entire body shaking violently, energy crackled through its limbs, its eyes flickered. Then its legs buckled, and it collapsed onto the ground, sparks fading slowly, its body finally still. Silence filled the chamber, broken only by Evan's heavy breaths and Lyra's soft gasps. Evan dropped the crystal spike, his body shaking from exhaustion. He looked at Lyra immediately. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head weakly, tears in her eyes. "No, but you." "Evan, your injuries." He gave her a tired but warm smile. "Still alive, still stubborn." Lyra crawled closer, placing her hands on his shoulders, examining the blood on his armor. "You risked everything, for me." Evan brushed a strand of her hair aside gently, his fingers warm against her skin. "I told you. I wasn't going to let anything happen to you." Her heart fluttered, her voice soft and trembling. "Why? Why do you care so much about someone who once feared you?" Evan stared into her eyes, his voice low and honest. "Because somewhere along the way, you stopped being someone, and became someone important." Lyra's breath caught in her throat, her chest felt tight, warm, full of emotion she didn't understand but wanted to, truly wanted to. She leaned her forehead against his chest, feeling his heartbeat, strong and steady. "You saved me, again and again," she whispered, "and now I trust you more than anyone." Evan placed his hand gently on the back of her head. "And I trust you, more than I ever thought I could trust someone." The tower suddenly hummed, the core pulsing with light. Lyra looked up. "The shutdown is complete, the hive link, it is broken." Evan nodded slowly. "Then we did it, together." Lyra smiled softly, a smile filled with relief and something deeper. "Yes, together." Outside the tower, the swarm staggered and fell, their bodies twitching as the control link disintegrated completely. The sky cleared, the smoke fading, sunlight breaking through for the first time in hours. Inside the chamber, Evan and Lyra sat beside each other, breathing in the calm after the storm. Lyra rested her head softly against his shoulder. Evan wrapped an arm around her gently, holding her close. She whispered with a shy but warm tone, "When I first saw you, I thought you would eat me." Evan chuckled softly. "And now?" She smiled, her voice almost a whisper. "Now I think you saved me, in more ways than one." Evan kissed the top of her head softly. "Good, because I'm not done protecting you yet." And as the sun rose over the broken land, the girl who once trembled before a human, now leaned safely against the man she trusted the most. Their worlds had been enemies, their people had feared each other. But in that ruined tower, two hearts chose something different. Something stronger, something human, something beautiful. And this was only the beginning.